This Friday preview edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Brought to you by the one and only First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing. They have it all, and you can get it right now with our promo code Sports Addict for 10% off. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off dozens and dozens of cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today and find your heroes. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, can't relax. Original, I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they.
And welcome to Pucks Across Borders Friday preview edition on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. I am Mark Sauter. 2 games on the ice tonight, both resulting in potential sweeps on the weekend. We'll dive into that. 4 games in the NHL tomorrow night. We will dive into that. But first, right beside me, the one and only, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You read his gambling picks on Winners and Wires. You read his NHL analysis on TotalApexSports.com. You see him all over Total Apex Sports, talking every sport known to man. Andre, how we feeling on a Thursday night, Friday morning? It's both.
I'm fired up. Nothing else to add. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. It's going to be a while until I can actually be on, get fired up, and deliver all my hot takes, but I'm ready to go. I don't think I'm going to settle down for a very long time. And if you know our guy at all, if you see him on Total Apex Sports, you watch this show every day, he's talking about the Knicks, and he'll be okay. He'll be okay. As a Toronto Raptors fan, I know his problem. Joel Embiid is one of the most annoying athletes known to man, and he's incredibly talented and MVP and all that's fine. Like, I get it, but playing against him in a playoff series is infuriating. So I'm right there with you, Andre. You don't got to talk about it. You hold it in until it comes out. And in an irrational manner. That's what we all do as men. That's just how we are. So that's totally fine. Before we get into the action, we got 2 games to quickly go over tonight, 4 games tomorrow. But before we get into the action, I want to just say something about the legendary Canadian broadcaster Bob Cole passing away today at the age of 90. Born in 1933 and passing away today. If you are a Canadian sports fan, Bob Cole is a name that your parents grew up with. He's a name that you grew up with. He is lots of people are referring to him today as a soundtrack, as like the soundtrack of Canadian sports, and I could not agree more. Growing up watching Hockey Night in Canada, he would do all the playoff runs, not just the Leafs. He would do every series. He would always do the Stanley Cup Finals. He's done the Olympics. He called the 1972 Summit Series when Canada beat the USSR at that point. Or the Soviet Union. Obviously, I wasn't around in 72, but I've heard the calls. He's done curling.
The guy's done everything. He's like a licensed pilot. Like the guy, just Google him and look him up, and just his legacy is just unbelievable. But as sports fans, especially if you've been a sports fan your whole life, Andre, I'm sure you can say the same thing. We hold dear to our hearts the nostalgia of the broadcasters that we grew up with, and some of them are still around doing their thing, but a lot of them are not, whether they're just retired or they passed on. And Bob Cole was just one of those voices that whenever I think about a hockey broadcaster, the very first name that comes to mind is Bob Cole. Obviously, never got a chance to meet the man, don't know the man, but so many respected people in the hockey community are just pouring their stories out on social media and on broadcast. I thought Sportsnet up here did a really cool thing. They were showing the TNT broadcast of the Tampa Bay game, or ESPN or TNT. And I thought it was really cool what they did. Not the Tampa Bay game, sorry, the Carolina game. I thought it was really cool what they did. Instead of going to the panel in the intermission, they just ran Bob Cole tributes, and I got a lot to say. I'm going to write a column on this in the next coming days. Just absolutely legendary. We're going to miss him. He's been retired for a few years, so we already miss him, but just want to throw my condolences out to the family. And Bob Cole, we love you, man, and we'll miss you. So Bob Cole passed away today at age of 90. The pinnacle of greatness when it comes to Canadian sports broadcasting. All right, with that little soliloquy, Andre, what was your takeaway? Only 2 games tonight, not a lot to dive into, but what was the one thing that kind of stood out to you tonight in the NHL?
I'll bite the bullet. My best bet was the Islanders beating the Hurricanes tonight. And, well, first period, halfway through, they're down 2-0. They allowed, it was the 7th straight goal at that point when Orlov scored that the Islanders had allowed in this series. And despite their best efforts to claw back, they did cut it to 1 twice in the second period, entered the third trailing by 1. Couldn't get the job done, couldn't tie it up. Sorokin, 3 goals allowed on 14 shots, did not finish the game. Varlamov stopped 8 shots to close it out those last 30 or so minutes. And looking at that shot total, right there, I mean, they only gave up 22 shots. They had 31 on net, talking about the Islanders.
Mm-hmm.
This is another game you could look at in the series. It's probably 3 now where you're going, the Islanders probably should have found a way to win this one if they want to advance. And for the third time, the Carolina Hurricanes, great team that they are, all credit to them. This is what they do, find ways to win. Walk away with the much needed victory. I really need to get over this 2 points habit. This series is over. It's 3-0. It's 3-0. The Sorokin card was played. It didn't work. Even if the Islanders win the next one, it's hard to imagine them winning 2 in Carolina, sandwiched between that game 6, which would be back on the island. It was a good run making it to the playoffs for them, honestly. All the teams in the Eastern Conference that stumbled to the finish line and the one that backed their way in, the Islanders genuinely staked their claim. They won the games in April, only lost once, honestly, and it was an OT loss. So phenomenal finish. Took control of that third spot in the Metro. They did what they had to do to get here. I just think they ran out of gas, both physically and mentally, and then they're outmatched. Let's call it what it is. The Canes are Cup favorites. assuming they would have played the Rangers in a different reality, that was the only other option for them. They probably would have been a similar fate, even with the rivalry aspect. That third Metro spot, that last wild card, we talked about it a lot, just teams that shouldn't have been there. And for the Islanders, for as well as they played down the stretch to get to this point, it wasn't really against good teams. And it's becoming evident that our initial instinct was correct, that they don't belong and they're not good enough. So it's tough the way they've been losing to Carolina, because they could have very easily been up 3-0 in this series, but good teams find a way to win. There's a reason Carolina had 100 something points, because they've got 2 every night, whereas the Islanders were scratching along with OT losses.
Yeah, and like I've been thinking about this because, like, for me, I said this a lot throughout the back half of the season, that I thought if the Flyers made it, I thought that they could give Carolina a run. I really did. I thought that just the toughness that they play with, they're pesky. I thought that they'd be able to find a way. But obviously, down the stretch of the season, we know what happened, and we know ultimately what the Flyers became. And I'm looking at the Islanders, and I'm watching the series, and I'm just thinking, out of all of the playoff teams, or all of the teams that were trying to make it, right? You got the Capitals, the Isles, the Flyers, the Penguins, the Devils. Out of all those teams who didn't deserve to be in the playoffs, including the Islanders and the Capitals, we can throw them in there. I think the Islanders didn't deserve it the least. Like, they're the ones, like, who, if anyone deserved it more than the rest, it would be the Islanders, but they still just don't really belong. And you're absolutely right, man. Like, we're watching the series, and there's just large chunks of time where they're the better team and they're dominating. And I thought in that third period, I didn't watch the first period, full disclosure. I was watching the Tampa Bay game. So those 3 goals on 11 shots, to me, and again, not watching the first period, not knowing the full context of like that situation, I think that Patrick Waugh is in love with Varlamov. I think there's something going on there. You know what I mean? I think, to me, you put him in because you wanted a different look. There was only so much that you could do to change your roster, so you changed the goalie. And listen, 3 goals on 11 shots, not great. But then you pull him instantly. You put Varlamov in there. Yes, he got 9 shots against him, and he saved all 9. That's great. But to me, I think that's how the shot total went. Regardless, to me, I feel like it's just very kind of knee-jerk reaction. And I know if you lose this game, you essentially lose the series. The odds of them coming back and winning this series is pretty much nothing now. But I didn't really like that decision. On the other hand, I thought that the Islanders completely controlled that third period. I feel like the Hurricanes barely had the puck, and I thought that the Islanders, they just couldn't get a goal. And so you're absolutely right, man. This is where that game 1 happens. You outplay the Canes for the most part, and you don't get the win. Game 2, you're up 3-0. That was the one, right? Like, game 1, it's like, okay, it's game 1. Lots of time, no panic. But game 2, that's the one that got away. And we'll see. Anything can happen, I suppose. But I feel like we're looking at a sweep there. And in the other series, Florida-Tampa, I'll tell you what, Andre. Did you pick Tampa to win this series? You did, right? I think we all did. Yeah, man. So did I. And it's just plain and simple. Florida, they're just much better. Like, it's just that simple. Like, they're just better. Like, Tampa, I think we were all kind of enamored by how they finished the season. Obviously, they have lots of really good players. And there was rumors of Sergachev potentially being available tonight, maybe next game. But their defense is so thin, man, and their defense is so different now. You got Hedman, and then who? And like Kucherov is not doing much of anything. I think Stamkos. I should know this before I just start saying things, but I'm pretty sure Stamkos has 6 points in the first 3 games, if I'm not mistaken.
He's been playing.
Yeah, man. So like, but I just feel like Tampa or the Panthers just kind of know what they got to do to shut that team down, and they've been doing it all series long. I do think Tampa's got to get one, right? Like, I don't know if I can buy into a complete sweep. You got 1 game left at home. You got to get 1, maybe 2. I know when Vegas played Dallas last year, Vegas won the first 3 games. Dallas came back, won games 4 and 5 before ultimately losing in game 6. And I feel like that might be how this goes down, where Tampa kind of squeaks out too. But both those series, I don't know, man. What do you think? Is there, like, we all know, like, mathematically, it's not as bad as it is in the NBA, but mathematically, the odds of them coming back are very close to 0. Do you, I guess, like, if I was to ask you which one of these 2 teams do you see coming back, if you had to pick one, the answer is obviously Tampa. But, like, what do you see here? Like, do you see any of these teams coming back? Like, they're done, right? Both these guys. I don't know if we can see it. What do you think?
Yeah. I think Tampa is going to get it back to Molly. Like, I genuinely believe they're still going to find a way to get it to a game 6. But we didn't really talk about the fact that Mikhail Sergachev done for the year, massive injury, and paired with Seabrook hasn't played all season. Hayden Fleury is out indefinitely. Their D-core is battered, bruised, basically non-existent. And for as well as Stamkos, a goal in all 3 games, an assist. He has 4 points for the series. You would think they'd be in great shape on that alone. He's not even the top dog anymore. That's Kucherov, but the Panthers just, they give up 3, they score 4. They give up 2, they score 3.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like, okay, we need to score this many to win. Let's do it. And then, well, obviously, it's like tonight they get the empty netter, so it ends up with a 5-3 final. But it seems like Florida just knows how to do enough. Again, good teams know how to win. They know how to. It's not the regular season anymore. They don't pick up 2 points, not 1. It seems like Florida's just tapping into that. They just, staring down a 2-1 deficit today, and take it right back. 3-2 lead. Have Tampa playing from behind now. They're talented enough in every facet to do that, even without Sam Bennett. It's really impressive. I think Tampa has more life. I just think they're feisty. They're vets. I don't think they're going to look at a 3-0 deficit and think it's the death of them. I actually think they're going to take it as a challenge and really bring it to their rivals for as long as possible. But the Islanders, man, if they survive the weekend, I think it'll be a good thing for their fans. That's the best I can say about them at this point.
Weirdly enough, I have Islanders fans in my life, and I haven't even bothered them. I'm just leaving them alone. I'm just letting them do their thing. One of them lives in Florida. A couple of them live in Long Island. I'm just leaving them alone. I'm just letting them kind of just go through the emotions naturally. They don't know. They don't need my help. As a Leaf fan, I can tell you the last thing you want to do when your team is losing is talk about your team. So just leave me alone. The one thing I will say, though, and you mentioned it, Sam Bennett, that's some motivation for Florida, though, right? Like if they get that sweep and you get Sam Bennett some rest for the next week, he comes back, start of game 1, series 2 healthy. That's a huge boost. I do think Florida has life. I can also see Florida finding a way to just squeeze it out of them and just finish it off. We'll see what happens. I think, is that game on Saturday or is it Sunday? There's been some weird. It is on Saturday.
The next game of the series?
Yeah. Well, both games, actually. Both series, actually. Yeah. 2 p.m. is Carolina Islanders and 5 p.m. is Panthers Lightning. So we'll see if one of these series lasts beyond the weekend. As much as I believe in Tampa, man, I have a feeling. But you know what? We're doing a show on Saturday. We'll talk about it all then. As a reminder, the whole reason why we're doing this right now is there will be no show tomorrow. But like I said, we'll be back Saturday morning to break down all of what we saw last night and preview Saturday's matchups. Speaking of tomorrow night, let's get right into it. I know you just had a tough night with your boys, the Knicks, but don't worry. You got 2 teams in the dance, and we're going to pivot to the other one. Your New York Rangers are on the road against the Washington Capitals. Washington is plus 142 at home. Rangers. Sorry, I gotta just say this real quick. This is totally off topic. I'm on DraftKings and I'm looking through the odds. Now, I had the odds on my screen for so long that the website refreshed. And I cannot believe that there are already football regular season odds up. It's only one game, but the Eagles and the Packers in Brazil, that odds, I kind of would take the Eagles minus 1.5 right now. That's pretty good. I feel like it might get bump up to 3.5 or 4 by the time the season starts. So if you want a long-term investment, the Eagles and Packers week 1 matchup is already live. And the Christmas games will be up in no time, I'm sure. But anyway, I digress. The Rangers, minus 170, minus 175 now. That moved quick on the road. Plus 145 are the Capitals at home. The over is 5.5 at minus 110, and the under is the same. Minus 1.5 for the Rangers is plus 154. Plus 1.5 for the Capitals is minus 185. Andre, you got to pump up your spirits a little bit, man. Tough night on the court. What do you think will happen on the ice tomorrow?
I'm just really hoping Tom will. McGrath don't get up to some goonery and try to injure somebody like Panarin. That's really just where my head's at first and foremost.
Yeah, good point.
Especially in, I don't even want to get into that. I'm nervous about these games in DC. The Rangers didn't win in Capital One Arena this year, 0-2. Got outscored 7-2 in those games. So, especially with the way Washington fought in Game 3, kind of nervous. But the thing about Game 3 that was weird, it was a lot of special teams. The refs were just calling everything. The power plays for both sides, there were a ton. There was some 4-on-4 play. It was just a disjointed type of game, if you will. Because of the reffing, I don't expect that to happen again. Game 3, Game 4, I feel like one of these, the Rangers are probably going to drop. It's probably going to be tight. I think I'm going to make it Game 4. For this one, I think I'm going to go with the Rangers 60-minute line. They see what the other team's doing in the East, first and foremost. They have the resolve, the desire, I'll say, to wash away last year, the gallant year that haunted them. They were up 2-0, let it slip away. And those two games 3 and 4 for them were in the Garden last year. So that was really lost opportunity. This time around they're up 2-0, but they're on the road. They, you know, foot on your necks now. Don't play around. Don't play with your food, as people say. Just go up 3-0. Give yourself 4 chances, 2 in the Garden, to put this series away. I think that's the mentality. Obviously, just straight up with these rosters, the Rangers are better basically everywhere. Uh, so if they play their best, it shouldn't be a question of what happens. It's just about putting your best foot forward. Hopefully the refs don't get too involved and let wonky stuff happen. But I'm gonna take, believe it or not, the over in this one. I trust Washington's offense more at home, and I feel like similar. They put up 3 goals in Game 3. I feel like they're gonna have 2 or 3 in this one. Not something you expect from them on the road, but I'm taking the Rangers to win in 60 minutes. So obviously they need to score more than that, and that means the over is gonna hit. So that's where I stand. Rangers 60-minute line, over 5.5 goals. And I think Panarin's going to find the back of the net again, but that might be getting a little too far ahead.
Listen, so a couple things. Number one, you're talking about the officiating. I've watched, if not all of every game, I have watched a good portion of every single playoff game so far this postseason. Very dedicated over here. That's what you get on Pucks Across Borders. I almost said Pucks Without Borders, and that's a whole different organization. Is it just me, or are there way more penalties than I remember playoff hockey having? Like, it is outrageous how it is outrageous. My wife was just walking by, and I just stuck out my water like she's my butler or something. I'm shocked by how many penalties there have been. Like the Leaf game last night, there was 8 penalties, and there could have been much more based on how the game was being called. And like you mentioned, thanks, dear, appreciate it. Based on what you're saying too, like, I don't know, man, these games just seem to be way more penalties than I remember playoff hockey having. The second point I wanted to make was Panarin. To me, that hit was playoff hockey. To me, I didn't think he was headhunting. I didn't think it was totally outrageous or nothing like that. Panarin's been known in the playoffs to throw his body around. He can be a little dirty from time to time if he needs to be, but he's not a guy going out like looking for heads. You know what I mean? Like, he's not trying to take some guy's head off. That's not how he operates. So for me, I understand your fear, and I can see Tom Wilson, trying to get revenge or whatever. But I think that would be nonsense, because that was a playoff hit, and he knows it too, right? He knows it. He's not dumb when it comes to this stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. It's funny that you say the over, because I came in here with a big speech planned that you completely threw me off of, because clearly the minus 175 is way too expensive. I don't trust the puck line here. I think it's going to be a really close game, a really tight game. Washington, I always predicted like a 5-game series at best. But you heard me say it. I wouldn't have been surprised if the Rangers swept this series. I just think they're here with a point to prove. Last year was soul crushing. And I think they're here for revenge. The 60-minute line, I don't love, and maybe this is an irrational thought, but we haven't gotten a lot of overtime hockey this playoffs. And I know that what's happened with the rest of the NHL has nothing to do with this series. That's where the irrational part comes in. I just feel like, what have we had? 2 overtimes so far?
Kings,
I think, right?
And
Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, I feel like we're due for an overtime, for at least one overtime tomorrow. And I can see this game going that way. And for that reason, I was completely here ready to pump the under. I just thought that it was going to be a really, really tight game. I thought that Washington would be super tight defensively. Same for the Rangers. And I could see this being a 2-2 hockey game going deep into the third period. I will say, everything you said was very convincing. And if people want to listen to you and take the over, I wouldn't blame them, because I'm kind of on the fence now myself. But there is something telling me I do like the under. It's a reason why it's even money, right? Like, this could literally go either way according to the books. I think if the Rangers win, I think it's a really tight under 5.5. I think it's because Washington can't score. And we all know the point in hockey is to score more goals than the other guys. So I feel like if the Rangers win, because my kind of theory is this, like, I think the Rangers are scoring 3 goals no matter what. I think that's just, they're scoring at least 3 goals. So if Washington wins, then it goes over. And if they lose, it goes under. That's kind of my rationale to that. So I'll take the under 5.5 at -110. I do think the Rangers win, but I don't really like any of the odds that I am being provided. All right, moving on to the Vancouver Canucks. Heartbreaking loss in a game where I thought they actually outplayed Nashville for the most part the other night. But Nashville, what did you say? You told me, like, didn't Nashville block like 3,000 shots? That was the real number, right? It was literally 3,000 shots they blocked.
If you're quoting me, that's the real number.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about the actual number from the game, it was closer to like 800,000.
I quote you. You're my main source. You know that. So Casey DeSmith still in the net. I feel like this guy is just getting so much unnecessary shrapnel, dude. Like, he's such a good backup goaltender, but anytime anyone talks about this series, it's just a reminder of, but he's not Demko. And Casey DeSmith is in Vancouver. Like, yeah, no kidding. Thanks, guys, for reminding me every time you talk about me. Appreciate it. But he's not. The reality of it. Nashville tied up the series the other night. They are going back to Music City. -115 favorites at home. -105, though. A little Vancouver love. -105 on the road. Over 5.5 at -125. The under is +105. That has to be some, like, Casey DeSmith tax, right? Like +105. I feel like that's a little bit to do with that. -1.5 for the Predators is +215. -265 are the Vancouver Canucks for the +1.5 puck line. A couple things here. Yes, the goaltending, that's like not a question. Saros is a very good goaltender. I've been pumping his tires. I think he's very good. More like, he's definitely better than he gets credit for, and doesn't get talked about enough for how good of a goalie he is. But he is gettable. Like, he's not flawless. He is gettable. I think the big question here for Vancouver is EP40, man. This is the Mitch Marner conversation up here. Like, Mitch Marner wants his bag. I mean, he already got one, but he wants another one. And EP40 just signed his, and he's disappeared, man. It just looks like he's nervous out there. He's holding that stick a little tight. He missed a wide open net the other night. He's feeling it right now. He's grinding through it. And no doubt, um, no doubt, JT Miller. I think he's looked fantastic. Quinn Hughes has been doing his thing, but you need EP40 to get moving here. You need him to start dialing it in, or you don't have a shot, especially without your number one goaltender. I think Nashville's riding the momentum. I think they're going home. We've watched playoff hockey in Nashville for years now. That place goes nuts, man. They love their team. And I think Nashville rides that momentum. And I think they pull out a win minus 115. I wouldn't. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I love that minus 1.5. I'm locking that in 100%. I'm still thinking about this one, but I don't think I'd be scared of that puck line either. I feel like Vancouver. I feel like Vancouver is just a little deflated right now, and I think Nashville's riding the wave, man. And there's like, when this team is playing well, they ride it. We saw that with the 18 game point streak or whatever it was. And I see that happening tomorrow. I think Nashville wins. And I don't know, man. That puck line looks pretty tempting to me too, because all that means is 3-1 or 4-2. You know, it doesn't mean that they have to beat Vancouver, 6-1. It just means they got to get just 2 more, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. I'm taking the Preds to win this one as well. And I mean, listen, you talked about it. Casey Smith, he's not bad whatsoever. But he's not Demko. Pedersen, you saw him miss that open net the other game. JT Miller had his hands up as Pedersen was shooting the puck.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
like that's right. It was a wide open net. It was yawning for him. He missed it. He fell to his knees. Like, that pretty much sums it up. There's a lot of weird stuff, bad luck stuff happening to this Canucks team at the worst time. I guess sometimes that's the price you pay for a great regular season. It just catches up to you at the worst time. That's why winning a championship is so hard. But Demko probably out until the conference finals, if not the rest of the postseason, is what they're saying. Brock Besser had to leave practice today after getting hit in the left hand during a power play drill. Probably not that serious. I feel like we would have heard about it if he wasn't playing, but still kind of concerning they had to leave practice for that. The mayor of Vancouver said they weren't allowed to have outdoor parties because of their history. It's just not shaping up to be a good postseason.
Oh, give me a break.
For Canucks fans. I mean, they tried to burn the city down a couple times. I think that's a little bit fair.
Yeah, I guess. Tomato, or whatever. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but
I mean, let's be honest, it wouldn't stop anybody anyway if they really wanted to. But they're just, Vancouver as a whole is just really not getting its way. And for this Predators team, they, like you said, they got outplayed in game 2 to an extent. It was a lot of shot blocking that bailed them out. Saros hasn't been sharp lately, but eventually he's going to go from good goalie to the Vezina caliber guy that he is. And they're at home, Music City. It's Broadway. It's all that yellow and all
it's a lot of yellow
drunk people. It's a lot playing in Bridgestone this time of year. So I like the Predators just as much as you do. I think for the total, I'm leaning towards the over just because I like the Nashville offense against Casey DeSmith and Vancouver matchup a lot. But Man, the Predators money line at -115, I think is fantastic value.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it. I can't stand that color scheme on their uniform, dude. It's so ugly to me. Like, I just can't stand it. But you're right, though. They rep the yellow, man. They go nuts about it. And speaking of jerseys, this is about a game that's happening, not even the next game we're talking about, but the next game we're talking about. But I gotta talk about this because I'll forget it 100%, and I don't know where my pens are to write it down. So I'm just gonna say it.
Oh God, I know it's coming.
Shout out! What's that?
I think I know what's coming.
Shout out to the Los Angeles Kings for those 90s jerseys, man. Those are awesome. Like, I love them. They're like their current jerseys are fine. It's the same color scheme. It's fine. But those old 90s jerseys, man, those are dope. I think those look so good. And I turned on the game the other night and I was like, I love the Kings again. That's all it took. I didn't like them, and then I saw those jerseys, and I'm like, ooh, maybe I do like this Kings team. Those are absolutely beautiful. But one last finishing point here on the Nashville Vancouver series. I will say this, man. If you think now it's not as good of odds as you would have gotten before the series started, but if you think Nashville's going to win this series, they are -105 to win this series, and Vancouver's -115. So if you think Nashville's going to win, now is the time to bet it. Because if they win tomorrow night, those odds are going to shift dramatically. So if you think Nashville's going to win the whole series, now's the time. -105. Still, it is minus money by a slight margin, but it is still an underdog. So that's my opinion when it comes to Nashville on this series. I called Nashville to win this series before Demko was hurt, and I think now that he is with those odds, it's worth putting a sprinkle on it for sure.
Yo, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Moving on to Winnipeg in Colorado. This kind of shocks me. I know how good Colorado is at home. I get it. But -175. Where the Winnipeg Jets are +145 on the road. The over is 6.5 at -110. The under is the same. -175 is the Jets puck line at +1.5. And -1.5 for the Avalanche puck line is +145. When these games were in Winnipeg, both teams were minus money. And this seems aggressive to me. Like -175. Like, I don't know. That seems super rich to me. What do you see in this game, Andre?
I don't think it's too rich, honestly. I kind of get where you're coming from. Uh, but I feel like most people would love Colorado in this spot. It's kind of risk protection here. I know this is like the one series where we see it very differently. Colorado's at home. They were the best team at home all season long. Offense has proven to be unstoppable in this series so far. And while some might think, it's the Jets, it's Hellebook, they're going to get it together, I think it's the Avs, it's the playoffs. They're bringing their A game. And this is what happens when you have all those guys in the same lineup, just capable of blowing by you and moving the puck with precision all 200 feet. So I think, considering they scored 6 in game 1, 5 in game 2, both on the road, now they're at home. Got to think Georgie has a little bit of momentum going, a little bit of confidence back. There's no reason the Avalanche should lose this game. And I'm right there. I'm going to take the puck line, actually. I'm going to take that -1.5.
Really?
5, I think they have another multi-goal win in them. And I'm going to take the over in this. I think, well, I picked the Avs to win not just the series, but the West. And this was, to me, the toughest obstacle in their journey to winning the conference, Winnipeg, and particularly winning a game in Winnipeg. There's very little doubt in my mind now that they'll probably win this series in 6 because I don't see them losing in Ball Arena anytime soon. And I don't like the Jets offense. They were red hot. They were on fire, but they were going to come back down to earth eventually. I don't think the 2 goals in game 2 is exactly representative of what they'll be moving forward. I think they're slightly better than that against Colorado, but I don't think they have enough to keep up with Colorado. Because I wholeheartedly believe that Colorado can consistently put up 4 or 5 goals, even against the Jets.
So I'm on Alexander Georgiev's stat muse. And you know how it shows like the stats at the top and then like the little bio? I do love that the bios are like automated to have like stats. Like there's no way that a human being did this for a goaltender. Alexander Georgiev has played 7 seasons for the Rangers and the Avalanche. He has 7 assists in 254 games. It's like, what? That's it? Only 7 assists? It's like, come on, he's a goalie. What are you putting that stat up there for?
Play
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's the Wayne Gretzky of goalies. So the one thing that does make me lean in the way that you are seeing this is the home record. Yes, for Georgiev, 32 games played at home this year, which is basically like the majority of the home games. They play 41. He played 32 of them. 24 wins, 6 losses, 1 overtime loss, 902 save percentage, 2.75 goals against average. His season stats was a 895 save percentage and a 3.02 goals against. So compared to his overall numbers this year at home, he was quite a bit better. So that does lean in the direction of what you were saying. However, this is something that I think is being missed when it comes to this series. And I know like you're absolutely right about the Colorado Avalanche and their record at home and their dominance at home, the best home team in the league. The Winnipeg Jets, though, on the road, 25-13-3. Like, that's a very good road record. It's not like they've been chumps when it comes to the road. They're like Colorado is a much worse road team than the Jets are. Much worse. So I feel like we're going back to Winnipeg 2-2 here. I feel like we have a split. You can pick and choose which way you want to go. The funny thing about this series, and you and I talked about this before game 1. We talked about it after game 1. We talked about it, with the goaltending and Georgiev and Georgie this, Georgie that, Georgie this. Hellebuck has not looked that good, my friends. And I've been pumping this guy's tires. Like, I thought for sure he allows 6 goals. The next night, he is going to lock it down. And he didn't. He made some good saves, but overall for this series, let me pull it up here. Hellebuck for this series, a 5.04 goals against, 870 save percentage. That's not Hellebuck numbers, man. And so we can talk about Georgie all we want. And I agree, like, clearly Hellebuck's better. I'm not saying that. But if we're going off of this 2-game sample size, it's a problem. And the defense in front, the whole reason why I picked the Jets to win the Stanley Cup was because their defense is tight as nails and their goaltending is world class. And we just haven't seen that from them through 2 games. They were able to keep up with the Avalanche in game 1, get 7 goals, and go to their own beds with a win. But that's not how it played out in game 2. They have to stop playing the Avalanche's game. Like, you're not going to beat the Avs playing their game. You're not. Like, you want to skate up and down the ice and have all this open ice and you want to move fast-paced. The Avs are going to beat you, plain and simple. If the Jets get back to Jets hockey, lock it down defensively, and give us some unders, then the Jets can win, and they can win the Stanley Cup. But playing this Colorado style of hockey, man, is not going to bode well for the Jets. It's just not. So I'm really, really interested to see what we're going to get from them tomorrow night. The fact that it's at 10 p.m. is infuriating to me. It's Colorado. Like, it doesn't need to be at 10 p.m. Think the games start at 7 and 7:30, right? Like, give us at least 9:30. Buy me a half an hour. I'm tired, man. These 10 p.m. games, man. I'm ready for this game to not be a 10 p.m. start. But so anyway, all that to be said, I know I just basically tore down the Jets and pumped up the Colorado Avalanche. But all that being said, I am still going to go on my theory. I think that as good of a home team as the Avalanche are, as good as the Avalanche are at home, I think the Jets have been a very good road team. I think Hellebuck bounces back tomorrow night. I think the defense bounces back tomorrow night, and you're giving me the Jets at plus 145. I'm taking it. And if it loses, shame on me, but I can't turn down that price, man. I'm taking the Jets plus 145. And the over, who knows, man? I don't know. I think I'm going with the over as well, but who knows?
I feel like the total for just this series, I feel like I'm just going to stick with the over. It's been working well for me so far. And obviously, I have a ton of faith in Colorado's offense. So you're not asking much from the Jets against a team it's not exactly known for stopping pucks if you're talking about Colorado. So I know they've bumped it up from 5.5 to 6.5 very quickly, but I'm still not deterred.
Was it 5.5 when I threw the numbers out there?
No, it was 6.5 today.
It was 6.5. Okay.
Game 1 was 5.5.
Yeah.
And then it was 6 at plus 102, and now it's 6.5.
Bumping it up by half a point. All right, let's move on to the last game of the night tomorrow. Again, 4 games on the slate. This is our Friday preview show. No show on actual Friday. So if you're watching this show on a Friday, then happy Friday. I'm glad you're here. But we will be back on Saturday morning. All right, the Edmonton Oilers, to wrap it all up, the Edmonton Oilers are in Los Angeles. The Edmonton Oilers are minus 130, which weirdly enough, I know that they're solid favorites, but that's kind of showing the Kings some love. Minus 130 on the road, plus 110 are the LA Kings. The over is 6.5 at minus 102, and the under is minus 118. Oilers minus 1.5 is plus 185. Kings plus 1.5 is minus 225. Andre, let's go right back to you, man. I just talked for a long time. What do you got on this game between Edmonton and Los Angeles?
Yeah. If you're trying to give your vocal cords a break, I apologize because I don't have much to say about this one. I hate talking about the 2024 LA Kings. In all seriousness, kudos to them for their game to win. I didn't think they had that much offense in them
Me
for 2
neither.
games in a row.
Yeah.
And the fact that they scored, 4 games in regulation, game 1, 4 games in regulation, game 2, Anze Kopitar, very quietly, a Los Angeles Kings legend. I gave Chris Kreider that recognition a couple days ago. I'm going to be equal opportunity here. He's had a phenomenal career with that team, all-time great for the franchise. But the game winner to make it 3 straight games now where the Kings have scored 4+. Their regular season finale, they scored 5 in the OT win. Game 1, they scored 4. Game 5, they scored, or game 2, they scored 5. They're home now. Again, you got to think they can keep that up back on their home ice. And with that defense, 5 goals, 4 goals, they're going to win 75% of their playoff games doing that, you would think. This is still an elite defensive team. This is still a team that has gotten great goaltending for most of the season. So that penalty kill is one of the best in the National Hockey League. It might be the best in the playoffs. So 110 dogs at home after a win, kind of peculiar. I understand that the Oilers are a better team and a significantly better team at that, I think most people would say. But I'm going to take the gamble on the Kings here. If their offense is going to keep doing that, why not? I think they can take this series if they keep doing that. So plus 110 at home for the Kings. That obnoxious goal horn is going to go off early. It's going to rattle Edmonton's entire roster, and it's going to lead LA to the promised land.
Well, since we're talking about things about the Los Angeles Kings that drive us crazy, you being the goal horn, if you give me those beautiful retro 90s jerseys and then give me those stupid chrome helmets, I'm going to lose my mind. I can't. Listen, the puck drop is at 10:40. I'm not staying up till 1 a.m. watching those stupid helmets. I'm not doing it. So just please don't wear them. Please. I'm begging you. No one wants to be so tired on the couch, barely keeping your eyes open, looking at silver bouncing all over the TV. Listen, here's the thing for me. You are 100% locked in with that. I absolutely like the Kings are a very good defensive team. The goaltending been very good for stretches this season. I'm still not a big believer, but I do agree with you about that. Listen, we talked about this before with the Oilers, okay? And I said this on the playoff preview, I believe. I'm just going to pump my own tires. It's like 1 a.m. I have no filter apparently, so I'm just going to brag on myself. And that's just I don't know, that's just how it's going to be. I was talking about this where when they went on their epic winning streak, they won some games in there that they did not deserve to win. And that's what happens, right? When you win the Stanley Cup, when you go on these winning streaks, you get some breaks along the way. The majority of the wins you deserve, sometimes you squeak one out. That's sports. That's what happens. The real reason why they won 18 in a row or 17 in a row is Stuart Skinner was incredible. They didn't allow I think the first 2 wins they had of that winning streak, they allowed 3 goals each. And then after that, he locked it down, man. And to me, these first 2 games are concerning to me. If I am the Oilers, like Stuart Skinner had a phenomenal season, he did, but this is his best season by far. And so to me, 4.42 goals against, 857 save percentage over the course of 2 games. And I know some of those goals in game 1, it was garbage time or whatever, but you still don't want to see some of those pucks go in the net. And, you know, was it last night? Kings go up 3-0. The Oilers creep back 4-3, and then they tie at 4-4, and then the Kings win it in overtime. I'm picking the Kings here too. And like realistically, I think that the Oilers win this series. I just think like if you watched that last night, like that's a team in Los Angeles. And I mean, Andre, you and I specifically, like John's not here, but he's had more faith in this Kings team than both of us have had, probably combined. Those guys believe that they can win this series. Like you just look at their reactions when they score goals and when they won that game last night. These guys believe in each other. And that says something. And with the play of Stuart Skinner the last couple games, I'm nervous about it. So give me LA too, at +1. What was it? 110? Yeah, +110. The Los Angeles Kings at home.
I cannot believe we both took the Kings to win
I know.
the playoff game. That's insane.
I know. I mean, it might be a knee-jerk reaction, but you know what, bro? Let's just call it what it is, Andre. Tonight was a tough one for us. Egg on our face. So we just gotta switch it up, man. This is what has to happen. All right. Moving on to our best bets, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. What's your favorite sport? Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing, whatever it is, it doesn't matter because you can get it at First Round collectibles.com. With our promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the whole store. They have a sale ongoing up to 50% off selected cards throughout the store. And with the promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today and find your heroes. That's the number 1, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, what is your best bet?
Yeah. I do like the Predators. I do like the over in the Rangers game. But I'm going to dip back in the well. Over 6.5, Jets at Avalanche. Just really trust Colorado to make it a Colorado game. And that means for them, 4 goals, 5 goals, whatever. That means they're probably giving up 2 or 3. I think they're going to pull out the win at home. I think if the Jets have any chance of winning that game, it'll require a Herculean. Yeah, that's the right word. Wow. Herculean effort.
Yeah. Impressive.
Offensively. So regardless of who ends up coming out on top, it's going to be driven by a very productive day in the offensive zone. So over 6.5, I'm trying to go 3 for 3 on this best bet with the over in that series.
I mean, just go with what's working for you, bro. Right? Why change it? Yeah, you know what? I hate to do this. I picked these guys to win this series even before the injury. I hated to do it then, and I hate to do it now. But I'm picking the Nashville Predators at -115. I think that they get the job done tomorrow night. I think that Nashville, it's going to be rocking, man. It's going to be rocking. And so, yeah, to me, I just EP40 looks lost. Demko's not in net. That was a deflating loss the other night. And I'm worried about it. They do play Sunday night, so not the 2-game rest or 2-day rest. But yeah, I do think that they get the job done. The Nashville Predators do. So give me Nashville minus 115 at home.
Cool. Yeah, that game, a 7:30 start. You just said it. Preds, if they win, minus 115. That's Mark's best bet. My best bet is at 10 o'clock in Denver, over 6.5 total goals at minus 110. Parlay together, plus 256.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So once again, this is our Friday preview show. No show on Friday itself. If you're watching on a Friday, then happy Friday. We will be back Saturday morning, bright and early, to talk about the games. Well, I don't know how early. It'll be bright, or maybe even not. I think I'm expecting like a bunch of rain on. So scratch all of that. But either way, we will be back on Saturday morning. We can't wait, breaking down all of the games, including my stupid team taking on the Boston Bruins on Saturday night. But anyway, enough rambling. Thank you so much for watching. As always, we appreciate you. Shout out Total Apex Sports for having us on board. We appreciate you. Check out totalapexsports.com for all the great content, not just about hockey, but all across the sports world. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, promo code SportsAddict for 10% off. We will see you guys on Saturday. Have a good night.